Board of Selectmen, please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to start off with letting everybody know that this meeting is being broadcast over Verizon and MCCAM and being recorded by MCCAM. Let's see here. First item, unanticipated. Any of the board members have anything under unanticipated?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Fowler.
Yeah, give me one moment. I'll pull up the email.
Let me just have a little sing fest while you wait.
I can do that.
No, thank you. Please. Anybody else have anything under unanticipated?
The audience does.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, yes, my name is Brian Giovanni. I have a question. Is anyone else in this room recording? Because under federal law, you have to announce if you're going to be recording people, even in a public place, a vocal. And
Is anybody
let us know who
recording?
we are. So we know if we're on camera, we just want to know who we are. Because we do that at all our meetings as well. We make sure anyone is being recorded. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Let me see.
We only have the hall.
Yeah. We received a couple emails from a couple different boards of selectmen from around the area. And apparently, at the last Plymouth County Commissioners meeting, they say that they are very close to bringing long overdue audits up to date. And what else? Yeah, so they're going to bring the audits up to date. And the advisory board is going to decide, I guess, on Thursday, whether or not the commissioners can get, or they're going to react to the commissioners' proposed pay increase from the rate of $7,500 to $15,000. Apparently, the Plymouth County Commissioners voted unanimously to give themselves a 100% raise at one of their meetings. And the advisory board will be meeting on May 23rd at Kingston Town Hall. I believe that's at 7 p.m.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Quell is our member of the advisory board, or our liaison to the Plymouth County Commissioners.
I am, sure, absolutely. And
But I would certainly recommend anybody who's interested in this issue to go to that meeting and make your voice heard. And if you want to ride, I'll be going. Mr. Quell?
absolutely, I'll be there with you. And any opinions, comments, or anything that that my colleagues here on the board would like to share, please let them be known to me by email or right tonight if you'd like. Any citizens out there? It's your tax dollars. Anybody here tonight or watching at home, please email me your comments or concerns on this matter, and I'll be sure to share them with the advisory board.
Mr. Quill and Mr. Frawley, as I was the previous board liaison to the Plymouth County Commission, the one thing I can address is the audits of the books. They were woefully behind in times. They've managed to get up to, I believe they're up to 2008 or 2009 now, auditing the books. Apparently there was a previous treasurer who left, well, he passed away, and they couldn't get a lot of the information that they needed to audit the books, so they pushed and found a fix for whatever the problem was, and have got the books audited now up to 2000, I believe it's 9, maybe 10. But they are making great progress. And when I first went on, they were way behind and doing one set of books a year. And we pushed to get the audits more up to date. So they're doing good work on that. Now, as far as this issue of 100% pay increase, I'm not certain that there's that much work involved to warrant a 100% pay increase. Given that the meeting is the 23rd, we just found out about this. We couldn't really post this on our agenda, but we certainly can have a discussion about this because this will impact us to a very small degree because of the large size of the budget, but nonetheless, 100% increases, a little bit over the top. We have to send Mr. Quill with some running orders. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
If I may, before we start making motions and stuff. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about what's going on at the Plymouth County Commissioners at the moment. So I wouldn't mind hearing, it better be one hell of a story for a 100% pay increase, but I would like to hear their story before we go in there with pitchforks and torches. I happen to know Mr. O'Brien, who's the treasurer, and I think he's doing a bang-up job as the treasurer, so I'd like to hear his opinion as well. And I'll be reaching out to the treasurer and some other people who know a lot more about this on my own, just trying to get some background before we rush into it. And like I said, we don't know the story behind this, so I think it would be prudent to find out what's going on before we send Mr. Quell in there with marching orders and pitchforks and torches. I think the pitchforks and torches should be waiting outside in case we need them, but let's go in there and act civil at first.
And that by extension, you would say that I was never acting civil when I was in there. I was always civil.
I've always thought you were very civil, Mr. McKinney.
That's why they've got these audits up to date, but not wholly by that. But, well, I agree. It's a good idea to listen to the comments and concerns. First of all, Plymouth County is the only county that doesn't have a charter. So a lot of the rules that they operate under are state laws, and that gets convoluted when the state tells you how, as you all know, when the state tells us how to do something, it leans more towards the state than to the particular entity, be that as it may. 100% increase, problematic. Small increase, there's time involved.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know about it. What if they have a 200% increase in workload? Who knows? So.
Then you wish to just leave this to the discretion of the selectman who is present there?
Yeah, the utmost confidence and respect of Mr. Clark for going in there and doing the right thing.
I agree. We go in with more questions. There's a lot of smart questions we can ask on this, just to figure out the process, where they are with this particular vote, what kind of time frame they have, where this increase would take place, what's the cause behind it, where the money's coming from, all that kind of thing. Just a lot of questions. But I just want to make sure that I'm asking all the questions that the board wants to ask, not just myself. So by all means, and Charlie as well. So just fire them off to me, and then I'll discuss them with.
Okay.
I'll be making phone calls myself. So, and hopefully, if you don't mind, during unanticipated, I can give an update. I don't think you necessarily need to put it on next week's or the 2 weeks from now agenda, but
we can put it on the agenda for 2 weeks from now, so you can give us a report back.
If that's what you want.
That'll be fine.
Okay.
You want plenty of time.
Okay.
Jackie, can you put that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now?
Fire me a date on that.
June 3rd.
Third and third. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, some people would argue that at $7,500, they're already grossly overpaid. After all, that's $7,500 more than you guys get paid.
That's right.
And I think you guys do a heck of a lot more work than they do. So that's my 2 cents.
I meet more often, too.
That's right.
Make a motion that we get 100% pay increase.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, they're real good with the numbers. Stay off the finance committee. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Gold? Anybody else under unanticipated? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention that Selectman McKinnon and myself, I don't know whether anyone else attended at the Elks, the event they had for the emergency preparedness on Sunday. was a free lunch, first of all. My husband loved it. But I think it had a lot of interesting information, and they're thinking, I guess they're going to be doing that annually. So watch for it next time. A lot of information, a lot of free giveaways, stress-reducing toys here. So just wanted to mention it. I bring props.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was a very good event. The Elks did a good job on this. They gave a lot of good information out, timely information. I know it's maybe a little ahead of the curve, but hurricane season's coming. Power losses. It's dealing with all of the problems that we face in today's society. So as far as disruption of our life, we must be prepared for that. Okay. Anything else under unanticipated? No? All right. Announcements?
Did you want to ask the public if they had any?
Well, I just asked that, and nobody got up. There we go. So we have to wake people up.
Yes, Tracy Mazzelli, I live at 108 South Main Street. I was at a hearing on Wednesday of last week at the State House, and the tribe testified, the tribe's attorney, testified before the committee, Economic Development and Emerging Technologies, that they had sent a letter to Middleborough regarding the IGA in Middleborough, and Howard Cooper, the attorney, informed the committee that he had sent a letter to Middleborough 1 year ago, and he was ignored. Middleborough failed to show up, so I thought that should be corrected if that's not true.
Mr. Chairman, we were looking for that letter, but no one seems to remember it ever being sent. So maybe it was something that Mr. Cooper meant to send but never did. But we're looking into it.
Probably was about the same time when you were calling them routinely to
Asking for meetings.
asking
and
for meetings,
discussions.
and
Yeah.
that would maybe how it got
Yeah,
convoluted.
I don't recall anything about a year ago or any sooner, so we'll look into it.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I've called the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe repeatedly myself. I've never gotten a return phone call. On Tuesday of last week, I was at the Taunton City Council meeting where they had their make-believe presentation about their proposed project in Taunton, and I spoke to Mr. Emmett Hayes and asked him to give you a call. So just the day before Mr. Cooper testified to the fact that Middleborough hasn't been in touch with them, I spoke to their emissary about getting in touch with Middleborough. Mr. Cooper is mistaken or misrepresenting the truth. And we still haven't heard back from last Tuesday or from any of the phone calls when I called their office. I know.
We have, yes, Mr. Provincia.
Mr. McKinnon, welcome the new members of the board. Memorial Day is coming up next Monday, the 27th, and we have a number of different events going on in regards to that. Thursday starts the VFW Poppy Drive for the run from Thursday through Memorial Day. So when you see folks out there at the various businesses around town soliciting for poppies, please help out with that. On Sunday, the 26th, we will have our Memorial Day church service at the United Methodist Church down in South Middleborough, the South Middleborough Church, and that'll be at 9:30 in the a.m. In case of inclement weather on Memorial Day, we will have our Memorial Day services upstairs in the auditorium at 10 o'clock. But otherwise, we'll have our Memorial Day parade. We'll step off at 10 o'clock on the Town Hall lawn, and it will be followed by a Memorial Day ceremony in the Veterans Memorial Park, probably around 10:45, 11 o'clock. And this year we're honoring John F. Glass, who's the VFW post has been named for him. And then, let's see. And I'd also like to remind this Board of Selectmen that I've invited you in the original correspondence that I sent out and the town manager to take part in the parade and ceremony. So if you're interested in doing that, please show up. The parade meets at 9:30 in the morning, warms up, and then, like I said, steps off at 10 o'clock and heads off around town. And and then the ceremony follows. The police will be notified as to if we cancel the parade and the ceremony because of inclement weather. They'll be notified early in the morning, so organizations that were going to participate in the parade and the ceremony, we call the police department and find out what we're doing. Like I said, we'll be upstairs at 10 o'clock in the auditorium doing the ceremony regardless, so everyone should show up for that. Any questions?
Done?
None. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other announcements?
Announcements?
Mr. Knowlton?
Following up on that, yesterday I was invited to the new officer installation at the VFW post. Wayne Packard is the commander, and I really appreciate that. It was a wonderful ceremony, and it's great to see that our veterans are being taken care of. I also wanted to just remind everyone that there is the Massasoit Spring Cleanup Day, Saturday, June 1, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that's set up by the Friends of Massasoit State Park in conjunction with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. It's going to be at 1361 Middleborough Ave, East Taunton, the park itself. If you're interested in helping out, you can contact the organizers at 617-722-2090 or 508-923-9945. Or again, you can contact through the email, the selectman's email, and I'll be happy to get you those numbers. But they're looking for volunteers to help clean up and get that park back into shape. Oh, and also the river race was a big success this past Saturday. A number of us were there, and now he's going to pull out his
Beat you, huh?
trophy. All right.
You were supposed to beat
I was prepared.
I had mine in my bag.
I've got mine too.
I'm not walking around carrying it.
It was great. It was probably half again as big as it was last year. So, you know, it's becoming a bigger event. It was great to see all the people out there. It was a beautiful day. Great time had by all, as far as I'm concerned.
So, who won? No, there's two trophies up there. One's blue, one's red.
Single canoe?
Yeah. And how many were in that category of single canoe?
Oh, that one's a little shorter,
There
yeah.
was plenty of people.
Plenty of people.
It's not my fault that
No.
no one is brave enough to get in a canoe and paddle against it.
I was so happy. I was so happy. I came in second with my son, and it was great because that meant that a lot of new people have gotten into the race. A lot of new people were out there competing, so they gave us quite a push. But my son and I managed to come in second. So, again, a lot of fun.
Yeah, there were some serious paddlers out there. So it was there was at least one homemade canoe, which was a pretty neat little thing.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Yeah, there was a couple modified, a lot more kayaks this year, and a lot of younger people too in the kayak division. I noticed.
Yes,
And,
much younger.
Actually, as a testament to John and his son, and to Mr. Bond and his daughter. Mr. Bond and his daughter came in third. There were a lot more what they call mixed couples. Yeah, still only one moron in a single canoe who came in first place. But
And last place.
and last place, yeah, first and last. I only got one trophy, but it really is. I mean, it's just a gorgeous day on the river, and I think anyone who was in the race would agree that it seems a shame to be trying to paddle fast when you're on that river because it's just gorgeous out there. And the weather cooperated with us. The water was flowing great. Thank you to the fire department for sticking you guys over there.
Exactly.
At one point, I actually got out of my canoe and dragged it through the rapids because I wasn't going to go over and embarrass myself in front of the cameraman. But it really was. It's a great time. I highly recommend it to everybody. I mean, we joke about it. It's really a non-competitive fundraiser, but it's a ton of fun. And the Lions Club comes down and does a ducky race after the canoe race. And for $5, you purchase a duck, you throw it in the river all at once, and they all go down through the rapids and stuff. And whoever wins, wins. And then we have a barbecue out there, burgers and dogs and everything. So it really is. It's a good time for everybody. And I couldn't think of a better thing to do this past Saturday afternoon. So thanks to the Parks Department. We don't have to have these out the whole meeting.
Charlie, can we look at, maybe getting a trophy case up here? I think this is going to go on for a while. Okay, we have,
Mr. Chair, I do have one more announcement.
yes, of course.
On June 13th at the Soul Homestead, they're having a free film called Genetic Roulette, which is about the genetic modification of the foods these days. 7 p.m., it's free. This is a hot topic. If you're eating food, you should be interested in this topic because there's a lot of things going on that you are not being informed about. And you have no idea what's actually going into the food that you're purchasing. So I would recommend that movie to anyone who eats. And like I said, 7 p.m. and it's free at the Soul Homestead. You can call them for more information if you're interested. I'm good.
That's it?
For now.
We do have a opening, a vacancy in the Board of Trustees for the Middleborough Public Library. Mr. Knowlton was on the trustees but had to resign because of time conflicts of the selectman position. So if you're interested in that, please contact Daniela Balka at the library. Also, we have for the Veterans and General Public Career Fair from the Plymouth Career Centers in Middleborough on the Move, sponsored by and being held at the Elks Lodge, 24 High Street, Middleborough, Mass. There's 45 different companies listed here, and there's 5 different service agencies. So if you're looking for employment, make sure you dress for the interview and bring plenty of resumes. And anybody else have any announcements? Mr. Quill? Public have any announcements? No? Okay. On to our next item, which is the minutes for the 5/13 meeting. I would entertain a motion relative to the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimous. I would entertain a motion to authorize the chair or his designee to sign the warrants for the week ending 5/17/2013.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? That's pretty standard. I wasn't going to ask you if you had any questions about that. I didn't mean to throw you off tempo there. New business. Under new business, first item. Vote to award a 3.3 arc, excuse me, let me say this in English. Vote to award a 3.3 acre parcel off Thompson Street to Stephen and Maureen Bonfiglio in exchange for a 1.9 acre parcel. Charlie, you want to, this is
Mr. Chairman,
a
this
town
was, yeah, this was a town meeting vote last fall, and it was something that Mr. Bonfiglioli and Andy Baggis, our DPW director, worked on. Mr. Bonfiglioli built a detention basin for his development off Thompson Street, and we have drainage problems on Thompson Street, and Mr. Baggis thought it would be good to get control of that detention basin for future drainage work on Thompson Street. And the town had some land in the vicinity adjacent to the Bonfiglioli's property, so this exchange was worked out at town meeting, but in order to do it, the town has to issue an RFP, and then the Bonfigliolis reply to that RFP and say, we will give you this land in exchange for your land, and that's what's happened, and that's why we are here tonight. I don't know, Steve, if you want to say anything about that, or if that covers everything.
I can quickly, Steve Bonfiglioli, 237 Thompson Street. Kind of how it happened, if you're familiar with Thompson Street, coming from, say, the 4-H, there's a, when you go by the 4H headquarters 44, you start to go down the hill around the corner by the Farrington Farm, so the street is high there, and it's high probably down beyond our subdivision. So there's probably about a mile of street that all the water goes to the front of our house, and usually the water fills up there. And in fact, a few months ago, a young girl from Bridgewater was coming down the street. She hydroplaned and ran into the front of our house. She came down the road, stood sideways, ran up on our front lawn, and hit our house 6:30 in the morning. And, so there's always a situation there with the water drainage. And then talking with Andy, he says that his feeling at the time was that Thompson Street would have to be rebuilt and widened probably in the next 5 years. And at that time, he thought that this lot would be good because it's the lowest point in that 1 mile area on Thompson Street that could handle the drainage. They could take the drainage on Thompson Street and dump it onto this lot. And also, that bad curve on coming down by the Farrington Farm, they could probably straighten out the road slightly and move it onto that lot. So that was the idea. And then there was this town-owned parcel in the back here that abuts the open space of our subdivision. This is all about 35 acres of open space that goes with the subdivision. So it's just kind of a landlocked piece of land that the town owns, and it would give them a little more protection from all this land out here, which is owned by was going to be the casino property. So it's 600 acres of buildable land, and it would just offer a little protection for here, so that was kind of the trade-off.
So this is a simple vote?
Simple vote to
everything is
award, and
done?
then we can, go to a, purchase and sale agreement and,
And that is done?
get it all done, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimous. Next, we have a vote to award 1.4 acre parcel on Cross Street to Douglas F. Green in exchange for 1.6 acre parcel. Presumably that's on Cross Street also?
Yeah,
Near Cross Street?
yeah, near Cross Street. Yeah, this is a similar exchange that actually goes back a year to the 2012 annual town meeting, and the well site that we're interested is here. This is Cross Street here, and the green zone, a large parcel for here, and we need this segment of it for complete the
For the exclusion zone?
yeah. So this is the town land, and so that's what we put out, our RFP, and Green provide offering the land we need within the well. So I don't know if Mr. Green's here today. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or don't have to.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
So, again, a vote to award, and then we'll proceed to,
Town meeting's already voted on.
this was done a year ago at town meeting, yes.
Okay, so the simple award, then there'll be the RFP, the purchase and sale.
Yeah,
rather,
yeah,
and then
and-
done.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments or questions? Motion, what would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Unanimous. Okay, now we have a vote to release Eastern Bank. Vote to release Eastern Bank letter of credit and accept new Rockland Trust letter of credit in its place. RE, the W.L. Byrne Company earth removal permit. Want to talk to this?
Jackie's been doing all the work on this.
Jackie's been doing all the work?
W.L. Byrne wants to work with another bank, and they have this letter of credit on their earth removal permit, which is still valid for another year, the permit. And been in communication with both banks, and Burn Sand and Gravel, WL Burn. And I was given the documents to type up on the board's letterhead and what's necessary. And we have also run it by town council, the new letter of credit.
So
Everything's in order, so.
everything is
with
in
a
order.
vote and your signature as chair on one of the
So
documents.
the vote would be to allow the chair to sign this document?
Yeah, I think that would be acceptable.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Can you just, I'm sorry, just for my clarification, anybody else who might be wondering as well, can you just clarify the involvement of the town in this letter of credit?
Yeah, well, basically what these are when we have earth removal permits, the applicants have to put up surety so that in the event that somehow they don't complete their project, there's a way for the town to complete the project and put it back together again after they've torn up the land. So this is, merely a mechanism, for the town to collect, if it's necessary to collect funds to complete a earth removal project.
Okay, and they just want our permission to change banks?
Yeah, and because we could not find the original, they needed this letter because they didn't want to, release it and then find that we make a claim against it. So this just gives up our rights to that original letter of credit because we have a substitute letter of credit coming from a different bank.
And Mr. Burns concerned that if this isn't done, he may be hit with a $750 fee by Eastern Bank?
Apparently.
Okay. Okay.
All set?
Thank you.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And that motion is to allow the chair to sign this, correct? This documentation, correct? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we have a... A lot of documents here. Okay. We have another election coming up. And this motion will be to sign the election warrant for the special state election on 6/25/13. This is a warrant for the special state election, 6/25/13. Goes out to either of the constables of the town of Middleborough, and it's in the name of the Commonwealth. You're hereby required to notify and warn inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in the state, special state election, to vote in the polling places listed below, and its lists precincts 1 through 6, on Tuesday, June 25, 2013, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purposes: to cast their votes in the special state election for the candidates in the following office: Senator in Congress for the Commonwealth. And this is given under our hands on the 20th of May, 2013. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we'll sign that, get it out. We have a article, we're going to vote only if we object to the Mass State Lottery Commission granting Middleborough Discount Liquors at 422 West Grove Street a Keno monitor. Hearing no motions concerning, any questions about this? All we're going to do, if we didn't want them to have this monitor, we would take a vote. Okay. All right, having no motions, then we have nothing to do with this. We'll move on. We have a vote to approve a one-day beer and wine license for the bartending services of New England for, that's William Fuller for the Alley Theater for June 1st, 2013, 6 to 11 p.m. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We have a second motion for William Fuller Bartending Services in New England for the Alley Theater. This is a beer and wine license for May 31st for the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals benefit. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Ladies first.
You did.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have a article before us. Vote to approve new access path named Meeting House Path for the access path located after 20 Plimpton Street for 3 existing homes off Plimpton Street with 1 common driveway. And this would be map location, map 033, lot 5758, currently 22 Plimpton. Map 033, 5729, currently 24 Plimpton. Map 033, lot 5735, currently 26 Plimpton Street. And we're going to put all these on to Meeting House Path. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second?
and a second. Okay, any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment, a question. Will they supply us with numbers on this Meeting House Path at some point, or will it just be Meeting House Path?
I think it stays Meeting House Path, but the address still stays 22 Plimpton Street.
Okay,
I wonder what they called it before it had a name,
right. Well,
that road.
so it will retain 22 Plimpton Street, 24 Plimpton?
I think
Well,
they
let's-
I
know
don't think
about-
so. I think they'll probably
That's
come
what
up
I
with new
mean.
numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Town manager, you're happy to appoint to the Conservation Commission, subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8C. This appointment is for 2 years, term through June 30th, 2015. And this is for Diane Stewart. Diane Stewart present?
I am.
There you are.
Good evening, everyone. Briefly, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Middleborough, with a bachelor's degree from Wheaton College. I have a law degree from Roger Williams University School of Law. I'm an attorney. I was previously on the Finance Committee for 3 years. My term expired this year on that. I'm on the Green School Committee right now. And pursuant to Mr. Costello's appointment of me to Conservation Commission, I would seek your approval of that appointment. I don't know if the board has any questions for me. Or
Board have any questions? I don't think they want to take your job either. Okay, pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
are on the
Thank you.
Conservation Commission. At 7:30, which it is just 7:30, we have COA Director Andrea Priest going to talk about the Shine Grant.
Hello. I have Mary Bessie with me, who's the Shine Regional Director as well.
Okay.
I sent a one-page summary. I do have the 80-page grant with me, if you wanted to delve into that. But I got it onto one page, so that was pretty good.
Good job.
We've been running the Regional Shine Program, serving health information needs of elders since 1996 out of the Middleborough Council on Aging. It's the regional program for 31 towns. We have over 55 Shine counselors, and the grant is up for renewal. It will be a 3-year term with a possibility of two-year extensions, so 3 + 2 + 2. The last time we wrote, they just kept getting extended, and so we're up to the present day. The grant, as outlined on your sheet, is for $136,247 for fiscal year 2014. The grant is very specific as to how that has to be spent out, what the requirements are for expenditures, and because we've been running the program, we're very clear on how to run the program and what they're for. So I just outlined for you what the budget entails. It's personnel, program facilities, travel, supplies and materials, program support, and other direct administrative expenses. And the grant provides one-on-one counseling for Medicare beneficiaries and their families, including those who are disabled and on Medicare. It provides community outreach and educational forums on a whole array of health insurance issues and options, and training and technical assistance to healthcare professionals that serve Medicare beneficiaries, and information and referral to other financial resources. The regional office has 3 spaces, 3 offices in the building in Middleborough Council on Aging. It's about 300 square feet, and it also uses other parts of the building for training, the conference room and the function room. So we include that as part of what the Council on Aging can offer as in-house. Last year, Mary, was good to get some statistics. In one full year, from January to the end of December, so 12-month period, 733 Middleborough residents were served by the program. A total of 2,100 was served in the region. So about 1/3 of those who are served are Middleborough residents. So it's really a strong point for the grant to keep it in Middleborough, to continue to serve Middleborough residents. And they have formulas, they do data entry, they have intakes for each and every session that they, when they counsel folks, when they meet with people. And they added up the savings for Middleborough residents, and it was $826,000 for the 1-year period. In the region, the program saved $2,721,000 for Medicare beneficiaries. So it just proves the value of the program and the need to keep it in the region and to keep providing those services. I have details of the budget, if you have questions about that. We need 1 million signatures. In fact, I need Diane, where's the attorney? Because they are of legalese, and Mary has the 2 packets that have original signatures, and they are quite extensive. It is a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. So what we thought was we would leave it tonight, and then we could connect tomorrow with you and see how you wanted to proceed. It's due May 30th, so.
Well, that doesn't leave us a lot of time.
It does not.
We're not meeting next week, so. So if this is approved,
right.
pretty certain it would be, you're needing signatures on that
As the
whole-
bidder, as a contracted bidder.
Okay. Don't have any problem with that. We could just sit here and sign all night long, right? It's not a
I just think it's the policy now that grants come here instead of just being signed off on one by the chair, just to, so that the board has a chance to learn about all the funding.
Sure. Sounds good to me. Any comments or questions? Questions from the audience? Questions from the board? It's a pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I have one question. Is this $136,000 for 1 year, for
Correct.
the first year? And
Yes.
then every year, it could be up a little bit more, maybe?
It could be up a little more or down a little bit more. Since 1996, we have seen a full range. I mean, it started at about $30,000. When I was hired, I wrote the first grant, and I was 20 hours Shine and 20 hours Town outreach. And then the program kept expanding, but if you may have noticed, Medicare has only gotten more complicated. Prescription drug programs, I don't know, 30 or 50 or something, Part D programs in the state. So Medicare itself has gotten so much more complicated, so it's a little bit of job security there. We also have, we cover the towns of New Bedford, Wareham, Brockton, which are high poverty areas and people in need. So we are an area considered high-density Medicare beneficiaries. You saw on your sheet over 107,000 Medicare beneficiaries.
Very good. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion, we have a second?
Chair, I
Yes.
have a quick question. You said you had 3 offices. Do you have 3 counselors? Is that how many counselors do you usually keep?
Well, we have the regional director. Mary's the regional director for the whole region. She has an assistant director. And we have, depending on the terminology used, we have in-house counselors who receive a stipend. On the new grant, they're called data clerks as well, because they'll also, in addition to their counseling, they're responsible for inputting data, which they do now. So we have essentially the 3 offices, one for the director, one for the assistant, and one for the visiting professional counselor. We have more space, and we have done we bought some training materials so that we could have a enrollment fair out in the big room, which we've done. So we have plenty of space to run the program.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
So is the plan to leave you the
Leave the packet with Jackie.
2
We'll
packets,
sign
2
that.
original signatures?
We will give original signatures on our original pens tonight.
Original pens. And there was a request for an overview of GATRA.
Yes.
Okay. I sent 3. I didn't know exactly how to do it because it is complicated, so I sent the 3 brochures that we have. For GATRA, it's the Greater Attleboro Transit Regional. That's the beginning of the confusion, right? We have 4 vans on the road. We have a contract with GATRA to run the transportation system. We have 3 different routes. One is a curb to curb, which means we pick up folks 60 and older and those who are disabled at their home, and we bring them to their location. That can be shopping, medical, visiting, errands, a full array that's not limited. And then when they're done, we pick them up and bring them back home. So that's one route that's limited to 60 and over. That's 10 rides for $10 if you buy a pass.
60 and older?
That route is limited to 60 and over and disabled. We have a second route called the fixed route shuttle that you see downtown here. And we designed that route with GATRA to include the 2 subsidized public housing, Riverview and Nemasket, and also to go up to Southeast Medical. We expanded the route when Compass Medical came so that people can get to Compass Medical. It goes to the supermarkets and to the pharmacies and downtown library, and well, it doesn't go right by, but it swings by. So that's a fixed route shuttle. It's on an hourly route. It just goes around in a circle. It's a flag down service, not a reservation service. That is a public shuttle. It can be mothers with children, high school kids, any age, any range. The only thing that's different is it's 50 cents for elders and disabled and $1 for others. So that it also goes to the train station when there's a train to catch. It just doesn't go there randomly on its route if there's no train. We discovered that somewhere along the line. The road to nowhere. So it goes there when there's a train coming in or a train going out. The third route, if you're not confused yet, is one more contract that goes to Taunton. We have folks who need dialysis over at Morton, and that's 3 days a week, which is quite a burden on their family members. So it goes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It leaves several times in the morning, and then returns. It goes as far as the GATRA terminal, and we included that because there's buses out of the GATRA terminal to other parts of the region. It also goes to Walmart, not only for the shopping, but because that's a point to get on other buses as well. You can get to the Silver City Galleria from there. So you take our bus, go to Walmart, and you can get to the mall. And it goes Route 44 all the way over to GATRA, which is on the other side of the courthouse, and then just swings around and comes back. That is by reservation. And that's a $3 ride all the way over to GATRA, one way, which is very, very affordable. People who are taking taxis are appreciative of the $3. They can go anywhere along the route. Restaurants, shopping, there's Social Security there. There's another Compass Medical. There's a couple of medical practices along the way. So people use it for a whole collection of reasons. So those are the 3 routes.
I think that one of the comments was relative to the crazy days.
Yeah.
Of facilitating transportation for maybe people from Lakeville who wanted to come up but didn't have the necessary transportation. Is that something that could be worked into this, or is that out of the realm?
Anytime, we have to stay in Middleborough for our day-to-day service. Anytime there's a special request, I just need to know, and I just get permission in writing from GATRA to run a special shuttle for an event. And we've done that for the Pratt Farm Festival, et cetera. And also Lakeville, I'm very close to the COA director in Lakeville, and we probably could collaborate. She could pick up people and get them to a certain point, and then we could pick them up and get them to Middleborough. So with a heads up, we can.
Can you do that on a Saturday too?
With special permission, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
It's a bit of a cost issue because we have to pay, but so far we've tried to support the town's events by paying the drivers to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Is this, I'll be honest with you, had no idea that this existed. None whatsoever. Can we get this information up on the website?
It's on our page, but perhaps it should be elsewhere.
Yeah. Because if I'm ever home, I have a 3-year-old who loves bus rides. And this would be
You
perfect.
go around in circles, which is even better for a 3-year-old, yeah.
I think you're supposed to be with them, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a thought.
She's very mature for her age.
And she can't drive the bus either, that's
She'll try.
it.
Any other comments or questions? None? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Next, excuse me. Next item is the 7:40 p.m. meeting relative to Edgeway Mobile Home Park, a hearing request for action relative to a fine for operating a manufactured home without a license. Because of the fact that we have a litigation going on relative to this particular topic, we have to postpone this meeting to June 10th.
Yeah, let me explain that,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman. After you notified or we notified Attorney Burke of your intention to consider the fine tonight, he filed a motion in court to stop us from issuing any fines, and as well as to compel us to issue them a license. He had a court date for today scheduled, but Attorney Murray, our counsel, could not make it today. He had a prior commitment. So in order to facilitate both attorneys being in court on the same day, we needed to agree to put off any action that you might take on this tonight until June 10th, because it looked like they weren't going to be able to come up with an agreeable date. Attorney Murray will also be away part of this week until the first week of June. So that's why we came up with the vote to continue until June 10th, basically just to find a time that both attorneys could appear in court together.
All right, then I would entertain a motion. Well, first of all, Jackie, what would be a good time on June 10th? Looks like the only thing we have is this, so should we say 7:30?
Sure.
Good. Entertain a motion to move this hearing to June 10th, 7:30?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Whoa, everybody.
Attorney Burke filed a motion to stop us from doing something we haven't done yet.
He did.
So,
He does not want you to fine them.
and how does that prevent us from having a hearing?
Because again, he noticed our attorney for a court date today. Attorney Murray couldn't be there to represent the town, so in order to allow both parties to be in court together to argue those motions, we needed to put it off until a time where they could both be there. So we agreed, since his main interest was to ask the court to stop us from issuing the fine, we needed to put this off, for him to agree to put off the court date until the first week of June.
Well, the whole idea of having a hearing is to decide whether or not we want to issue a fine. Sounds like he has a little trouble with us. I'm just thinking there's precedence being set here. If he had arguments to make before the board, maybe he would have been successful. We wouldn't even have taken a vote to impose the fine.
I guess he didn't like,
Well-
I guess he didn't like his chances.
That's not, well, again, precedence, that's not grounds for canceling a hearing, in my opinion.
Mr. Quill, I was the one who wanted to have both parties present.
Correct.
And
Well, no,
I
wait a
still
minute.
feel,
That's not true.
it is true. I'm
You
the one
were-
that wanted to
okay.
have both parties present.
Let me finish.
Okay.
We couldn't have a hearing because he was not notified of the hearing. I asked you that. I said, was Attorney Burke notified that we'd be having a hearing tonight? You say, no. That makes sense to me. He was notified about tonight. He made a personal and legal decision and not to be here. Okay. Does that prevent us then, according to open meeting law, from holding this thing in absentia of him?
Yes, because we assured him that we would not be taking this up other than to continue it in order to be able to have our attorney in court to oppose his motion. Otherwise, he could have gone ahead today if we had not agreed to continue it. He could have just gone into court today and we would not have been represented.
Mr. Chair?
Well, we want to make sure
Well,
Mr. Quill.
I want to talk to Mr. Quill about it, if I could, through me.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We weren't able to be at court today, like we were supposed to be. So we would have lost, because we would not have been represented. We didn't have the answers to his questions. We would have lost by default, which would have made tonight's hearing moot. The court would have filed an injunction saying we couldn't do what we may or may not have done. By agreeing to a later date for this afternoon's meeting, we agreed Mr. Burke wouldn't agree to postpone this afternoon's meeting if we were going to go ahead and impose a fine tonight anyway. That would have been silly. So
Depending
we
on-
agreed
yeah.
to postpone this afternoon, and he agreed to postpone this afternoon, we agreed to postpone this evening. He gets to go first. That's the way it is.
Yeah, again, the idea of a hearing, though, is to decide whether or not you're going to do something not. But, I mean, I'm not trying to give him, like I said, I just don't want to see us go down this path more than a few times if we have to. If a lawyer doesn't happen to trust the fact that, he just thinks we're all going to come in here and just pass this thing through. I mean, I'm more than willing to hear his argument. I am. Well, he could completely sway me and change my mind and say, I don't think this warrants a fine. I just don't want to see somebody running into court and then slapping us with like a gag order. We haven't even had the hearing yet. So it's just, I'm not saying it was a bad decision on your part. I'm just saying it's just that I haven't had the situation presented
This
to me
has been
before.
going on, it's not like this just happened yesterday. This has been going on since 2004.
Okay.
So another couple of weeks. What's the harm? We have a fair hearing, both parties present. That's the way I like to do things. It's narrow-minded, I understand. Yes, ma'am.
Given that there was notice for today's hearing, is the board able to retroactively fine the park from today's date?
We can't fine the park. That's not in our purview. All we can do is ask our attorney to go file a criminal complaint that the park is operating without a permit. And there is a fine that the court can issue. And it's never really ever been clearly stated to me whether or not, or who gets that fine money too. That's another thing. It could be going into the state's pocket for all I know. So we can't say, issue the fine. The court has to issue the fine. All we can do is have our attorney go to the court to file the criminal complaint.
So was the purpose of the Board of Selectmen hearing today to get the approval of the board to request that Attorney Murray request the $100 per day fine?
It was to have both parties present when this discussion was held, yes. But I want both parties present.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fowler.
Since we're talking about this, I was wondering if we might be interested in getting special counsel to represent our interest in this case. Seems like it's getting a bit complicated from what I read.
No, I don't think this is complicated at all, this piece of it, really. I
All
mean,
right.
we've done this before. This is how we got to the point where we got a settlement, it was filing an action just like this. So
All right.
I think we're still pretty comfortable with what we need to do.
Okay.
All right.
So, yes?
Mr. McKinnon, Louisa Brown, 162 Wesley Circle.
Hi.
Since I'm not an attorney or I'm not in this type of business, what if Mr. Murray, say, can't make it to the hearing with Mr. Burke? Do we just keep waiting until his
Well, I
hearing
believe,
goes?
I'm relatively certain that Mr. Murray and Mr. Burke are going to be able to get together, and then we'll be able to have our hearing.
So in other words, we're going to have a time.
I'm
limit.
relatively certain, but
Yeah.
the stars don't always align in my head either, so.
No, I mean, I was just
No,
curious how many
I think
times
I think
do
the
we
10th is a
cancel?
very good date.
Yeah.
I don't expect having to continue it again.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the ayes have it. The motion carries, and this meeting will be held on June 10th. Next item on the agenda is the MBTA representative for railroad safety. It's nothing you said, they always walk out on us.
Hi, my name is Brian Maroney. I work for Jacobs Engineering Corporation, and I'm here representing MassDOT relative to the weekend MBTA service that's coming through Middleborough. With me is Tracy Kaufman from MBTA Safety. So we understood you had some questions relative to the infrastructure improvements, so I'm here to try to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, there's been, we have a lot of concerns about this. We have a rail system that's used for a freight train right now, which might do around 30 miles an hour, if that.
That's correct.
And now we're kicking that up to a rather high-speed train, 59 miles an hour?
Yes, 55
55. So,
on portions.
on portions.
Right. It won't be 55 the entire way to Hyannis.
So,
But in Middleborough.
In Middleborough, yes.
I mean, all I can
Right,
really,
yeah,
I can't really
that's-
dictate what you do in
Right.
the next town.
No, I understand.
I'd like
I
to, but I
apologize.
can't.
I'll stay town specific.
So for our area here, last week we had a discussion with Mr. O'Connell, and he talked about the safety program they have.
Okay.
And what I did is I went down to both crossings to look at the crossings. One of my immediate concerns is, if you could show him that, Charlie. Mr. O'Connell mentioned if there was a truck or train, or, excuse me, a truck or a vehicle on the tracks,
Yes.
couldn't move, for some disabled on the tracks.
Okay.
These signs that you see there, these signs are mounted on there's a cabinet, electronic cabinet down there at the railroad crossing, and these signs are mounted on the cabinet. Mr. O'Connell said that we were going to be, this is an MBTA project, MBTA line, that's what. Come on up to the microphone. I want to hear your sparkling
I'm
voice.
Tracy Kaufman, I'm the Deputy Director of Safety Assurance and Control for the MBTA. And the project actually is an MBTA project. It's a DOT project and a Cape Cod
CCRTA.
CCRTA. So our role in the project, as far as MBTA safety, is they're going to be using MBTA trains for this project. And so we have oversight only on safety assurance and community outreach. So I can answer questions associated with safety and community outreach.
Okay, then if I call this a Mass Coastal Railroad 508-759-3261. Who am I going to talk to?
So you'll be talking with Mass Coastal, but Mass Coastal has and the MDCR have a report, emergency response program where we work together. So MDCR actually will be responding, but they have trained, all of their operators on these trains are trained in handling emergencies. All the phone numbers that they need to have are available to them readily. So they know exactly that the FRA will not allow the project to go forward unless you have that program in place and approved of them.
Okay, how are the Mass Coastal Railroad people going to be able to communicate with the engineer in that particular train?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a standard sign that's at all grade crossings. This is a Federal Railroad required sign.
Well, it's a little different layout, not that that means much, I guess, but it's a little different layout from what Mr. O'Connell showed us on his slide presentation, but it does have all the same basic information.
Right.
Now, my understanding was that there was going to be a audit, safety audit done on this line to assure.
We completed the audit last week on all of the crossings, and as they were continuing to make certain infrastructure improvements at the time. For example, the very first location that we went to, we were there and we're walking down and taking pictures that the street marking was faded, wasn't clear enough. And so we were going to be making a recommendation that they repaint the street marking. And lo and behold, at that moment, these guys drove up with about 15 vehicles and lights flashing and everything, and they were painting the street markings. So, after we completed the assessment, there are some minor things that we feel still need to happen at the locations. There's some areas that did quite a bit of brush clearing. If you've been down in that area, you may have seen that. There are some areas that we're working directly with Brian here with on making recommendations for a little further brush clearing. There's some areas where maybe some of the signage can be improved or additional signage can happen. We didn't see anything that would stop the project, which is good because these guys are doing a great job. These guys are doing an excellent job in everything that's required. We had a meeting right after our assessment for this railroad crossing through the FRA, showed the photos of everything they took. And again, they have to sign off on things. After the meeting, it didn't seem like they saw anything, again, that would cause the project not to move forward.
What about fencing? In this particular intersection, the Miller Street intersection, there's a church right there on the corner, and that church has maybe a kindergarten in there or a daycare center, and there's a playground right there, and there's a fence that comes up and stops, and then you have the tracks.
Yep.
Kids are kids, and they see a train coming, and everybody wants to see that train. And
that's where our community outreach, we try to reach. And so if there are locations like that that we're not aware of, we have been working very closely with the fire department and police departments to get ideas of where else we can perform our community outreach. Kind of summarize through those efforts again. That may not be one area that we adopt to, so I very much like we have people on the ground down here every day last week. They're going to be here again. They're here today. They'll be here again tomorrow. They're going to be the areas that they focused on. Mostly the areas where we're going to have the entry speed, because the other areas is going to be the same speed as the other trains that currently go through the facility or through the tracks. But we've been reaching out to schools in particular. I'm really pleased to tell you that your school is extremely proactive and have been working with. I'm quite impressed. They had recommendations for some minor changes to our flyer, which I like very much, and we made those changes. They requested that we print out 3,500 copies so they can send that home with the parents. We actually printed out 10,000 copies because we're on the stock. We like your suggestion on that. Our goal in going to the schools was to try to figure out how we can communicate. So we've asked them to do on the announcements for a couple of days to announce that there's hazards on the tracks. We know it's a popular place. Maybe it seems like a fun place to hang out and it's going to so we drafted a memo or whatever for them principal of the school to read to all students. In addition to that, they've agreed to, there would be, what's that called, where your parents, you get text messages.
Reverse 911 type
emails.
thing?
Yeah, so it's an outreach that they can put our message in, and all the parents get a phone call, and I get that when there's a snow emergency, and they're doing that as well, so that's wonderful. We've gone to community centers, we've gone to senior centers, we've gone to grocery stores, we've gone to libraries. We try to reach out, in some locations we've had campgrounds, because you may have a transient population here for the summertime. We want to make sure that we get the information out to them, so we're trying to go to campgrounds as well. But if you have additional locations that we think would be targeted, especially if it's locations like you're saying, the daycare centers that are close to the tracks, we certainly will reach out to them as well.
My board members? Board members have any comments? Mr. Frawley?
How you doing? I got to ask you one question. I'm not even sure if you guys are the right people to ask. But how come Middleborough wasn't notified of this until after it was announced it was in the paper? No.
Nope. None of us had
I do know it
good
was
notice.
a project that we were asked the same question, if I may, at a little slight different twist on it, about getting the word out to the community. And as far as safety is concerned, we want to, it's always a little crazy, but we want to wait a little while until it's going to be fresh, especially when we're talking about kids. If we went out too soon with the information, it's over their head and gone, and they're not thinking about it. So we strategically target this time frame. Within weeks, or 1 or 2 weeks before the operation is going to come, so it's fresh in the mind.
All right. There's a stop right here in Middleborough, correct?
Sure, Lakeville Station?
Middleborough Lakeville Station.
Right.
That's what we call it, Middleborough, the Middleborough Lakeville Station. How many at-grade crossings are there in the town of Middleborough?
2.
What's the top speed in Middleborough that the
Will
trains
be
are going to reach?
55.
So it's going to go from 0, right over here,
Yep.
to a top speed of 55?
Correct.
What's the top speed going through the grade crossings?
55.
Can you get that to 30?
No,
Why not?
because that is way above my head. I've been told to engineer it for 50, that's what I've done.
All right, who can I
One
speak
of-
to
one of the
about getting
things-
that lowered?
Anything relative to that should be directed to CCRTA.
Okay.
Tom Cahir.
What does CCRTA
Cape
mean?
Cod Regional Transit Authority.
Can you give me a name and a phone number of someone?
I know the name, I don't have a phone number.
I have it, Alan. I'll get it.
All right.
So just, let me give just a little brief overview of what's going on here from the engineering aspect of the question you're asking. This piece of railroad, the MBTA commuter rail now stops at Middleborough Station. That is the end of the line for the Middleborough line. What's going to happen is those select trains on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday will be extended beyond the station to go to 2 additional stops, Buzzards Bay and Hyannis. The track that they are traveling on is the same track, and the speed is being restored to the same speed that the passenger trains previously ran in the late 1980s. So all of the infrastructure at the crossings, which is in place, it's just being put back to what it once was. This is nothing new. What the state has done, I guess, with the help of the consultants, is recognize that at the crossings, with the such short time frame, we have improved the track. We've put in approximately 42,000 ties. We've done crossings, Spruce and Middleborough included. We were able to actually help the town of Middleborough because you guys have been trying to get that water line across that Spruce Street crossing for a long time. And this was a golden opportunity to do it. And MassDOT has talked with Mass Highway, and because of the short time frame, Mass Highway has come in, and that's what she said the rolling light show was myself with all the MassDOT folks. And all of the pavement markings are being redone, and there are new signs being put up as well. So the markings are done at this point. The signage folks, I meet them on Friday morning, We start at Miller and work our way south. So there'll be new signs put up, the W10 one, they call it. It's the round sign, advanced sign. Spruce Street has not been done yet with paver markings because I'm in constant contact with the water folks to coordinate with them so that they have final paving on there before the state comes in, because the state is not using paint. The state is installing thermoplastic, which is the premium material for grade crossing. So I'm trying to get it so that what gets left is done. So I'm pushing the envelope a little bit. If I can't get the water folks to be done, because I know they've had some issues down there, by Friday, I've talked with the water folks, and we will get markings there before Friday night. It may just be a case where Middleborough has to paint them. So I'm in constant contact with them to make sure we have both signs and markings up for Friday night. So for the town of Middleborough, for Friday night, you guys should be all set. There still is ongoing work. There are ties to be removed that have been piled. There's soil that's been excavated that still has to be removed from the grade crossings. Other miscellaneous stuff. I'm strictly Middleborough now. We've got other stuff we have to do. So we're almost there.
So you are going to remove those, there's several stacks of ties.
Oh, yes. No. MassDOT, I can tell you I've worked for MassDOT for 5 years now. They like their right-of-way clean, neat, presentable. So those tie piles will all be picked up.
Okay. And the dirt piles that...
And the dirt pile, right. The contractor, it's up to the contractor to properly dispose of all that material. He just has to go through the paperwork process. That's why the piles haven't been picked up yet.
Those crossings were also a problem. We've been trying to get those repaired for a long time. It's kind of a tough way to do it, but...
If you haven't seen them, they came out pretty nice.
They did. I was down to both of the crossings, and it was nice driving over them compared to what it was. Now, what are you putting up any additional fencing along these, around these crossings?
At this point in time, no. Fencing is one of those things you have to be very careful of. It can become a safety hazard as much as it can help, because in the same token, while it may deter someone from coming on the right-of-way, it also now traps somebody on the right-of-way in the event they're trying to get away from train. So the answer to your question is at this time, no. There is, I know the chiefs, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know the chiefs have been meeting and discussing, and there's an active participation that's also part of going through Tracy with the MBTA police, that they're going to actively address trespassing issues. I haven't heard that Middleborough,
I think they're out tomorrow.
they may be.
It's tomorrow or Wednesday, but they're coming down here, and they're working very closely with the chief of police of the various separate towns to do a campaign to get out there, find trespassers, either warn them or give them a citation of some kind so that the word gets out, trespassing in the right way. So hopefully the chief of police get a meeting with them, say we can have it, it wasn't last week, but maybe we can have it, a very, very productive meeting. And again, the support that we're getting from them, and the support that we're giving them, it's a great collaboration.
So we'll have 2 trains going down at night.
So it's one train down and one train back each day. That's what I understand.
Right. The schedule at this point, I believe, is public, and I think there's a website that's up through the CC. So if you go to capeflyer.com, I can't answer specific scheduling questions because...
But those schedules are on capeflyer.com.
Yes, whatever the train is going to run, it will be publicly put on the website, so you know the times and what times they're going to run. At this point, all I care about is the Friday night train, because that's when I have to have all the work done for.
What time is your time cut for Friday night? Because that'll give us a hint as to when the first train's going through.
Well, they won't be waiting on me. It'll come by schedule. like I said, it's all right there on the website. It's a continuation, it's not a separate train. It's a scheduled Middleborough train, and when it gets to Middleborough, it will just keep going. And there's a couple of additional coaches on it, I believe.
Board members?
What kind of audible alerts will the train be using or making as it's coming through town?
The standard 2 shorts and a long.
That'll be how many times a day?
Well, it only is on the week. Well, are you asking about the regular trains, or are you asking about the MBTA trains in specific?
Both.
I can't address the freight schedule because I don't think it's scheduled, it's sporadic to Middleborough Yard. Most of the freight railroad work is from the CMAS plant south.
Okay.
The MBTA train, the horn blowing will be per what you see, the schedule. So once it leaves Middleborough, 36 to 39, 3 miles. So figure about 10 minutes or so after it leaves Middleborough, it'll probably hit Miller. It'll get to Miller. So you can follow the schedule. And then Spruce is only 41 and change. So about probably another 5 or 10 minutes after that, it'll hit Spruce.
Okay.
5 minutes from Spruce to Miller by the freights.
All right, so then it'd probably be a little bit quicker than that. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say I do appreciate you guys coming down here, and I certainly appreciate a tough schedule and and what you've done. This is scary. I disagree that this isn't new. I think something that was discontinued in the late 1980s and starting up in 2013 is new. There's a couple good fishing spots in South Middleborough that the best way to get to is down your railroad tracks. Now, right. Those are traditions that have been passed down for a very long time.
Yeah, and the way that the discussion that the chief of police made is that when it's that, it's illegal beyond, it's illegal and it shouldn't be done by
I agree with you 100%, but when you walk down the railroad tracks to a fishing spot with your dad, it doesn't seem illegal. So now we got, and this is a good time to go fishing. You got kids who don't understand that this is illegal, walking down these tracks. I tell you what, I wouldn't have any more questions for you if you said that those trains were going to go 30 miles an hour through Middleborough, or at least till, what's the second crossing, Spruce Street?
Do you know where those fishing spots are?
I know a couple of them. I haven't been there in a while.
The reason I said, this is Tracy's whole focus. If you know where those fishing spots are.
I think I may know where they are.
If the chief talks to you, you know where they are.
Yeah, well, if you could please, just so that we can verify that there isn't anyone that's missing, you could send me an email.
Sure.
And tell me where they are, so then I can circle back and the police to make sure, and the chief police, make sure that we're not missing them.
Certainly. But again, like I said, if you could get that train just to go from there to the second grade crossing at 30, and then speed up and do whatever you want, 50, 59, 70, whatever it is. No problems here. But if you could get it to just stay at 30 for a little while, it's going to add, what, 5-10 minutes to the time? I'm all for the rail. I like the idea of a train from Boston to the Cape. I'm in full support of this project. I wish we knew about it before it was initiated, but it's going to be a very long day if somebody gets hurt on those tracks and we ask you back here. It's as simple as that. I'd appreciate your support.
We will relay your concerns.
Mr. Chairman, when does the train reduce speed?
When does it reduce?
Yeah, where?
speed?
At what location?
My understanding now is it reduces from 55 to 45 just north of Elm Street in Wareham.
Mm-hmm.
And then it slows to 30 through Wareham Station, across the river and the road crossing, and then picks back up to 55. That's the only lowered speed area that I know of at the moment.
Okay, but not on the Cape. You're just talking about 55 on this side of the...
That's correct. It's only 55 north of the Buzzards Bay Bridge.
Okay.
Below the Cape, it remains at 30.
Why is that?
Mostly because of the track geometry conditions that won't support it.
curious to hear your discussion of fencing, because if you look at the old Colony Rail restoration, you see fencing almost universally along residential areas. So is there something different about the old Colony restoration that they thought fencing was important, and you know, in this instance, it's not important, or it's considered a detriment?
I don't want to say that what's important and what's not important. The best I can tell you is if you have specific fencing requests, I would say put them in writing. And you know what I mean? I can't stand here and promise you fencing, so that's going to go to a level way higher than me. The old Colony service is a full-blown commuter service, and they do 80 over there.
Not everywhere, and in many of the cases, it's, you know, probably in the 50s, just like it is here, and yet they have grade crossings with median barriers. Obviously, you know, that is meant to make people running around the gates harder. That's not offered here. Again, I don't understand why you built to a level of safety in those communities that you're not even proposing here. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not familiar with, the decisions that were made back there. I do know that in order for us to do our safety assessment of all the house, there's a list of what's required, regulatory-wise, and that's all safety, all key safety, for example, to do it. But if you have your own questions, and you'd like to, bring to their attention some additional concerns above that, that is something that certainly we should go into.
Mr. Chair?
Well, you know, the board is going to sign a letter tonight to the governor, to the Secretary of Transportation, to the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, and to the General Manager of the MBTA, making those points. We discussed them in previous meetings, and perhaps there'll be follow-up communication. But it just seems like, what was offered and what was installed for other communities is not being offered down here for some reason. It seems inconsistent.
Again, I don't know who paid for all of those upgrades on the grid system, or whether it was required for some reason there, and here it doesn't sense that maybe, but, I guess the route that you're taking is probably appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Quill?
Well, no, we just hit it. He said put it in writing, and I was going to say, okay, you make a valid point, put it in writing. Charlie, the letter's going to be going, just rattle off where the letter's going to be going again?
Governor, Secretary of Transportation, the General Manager of MBTA, and the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, which is the agency that is in charge of, or is, going to be promoting the service.
Okay. Anybody else you can think of that we would want to add to that letter? That would have something to do with fencing?
I'd say you've got it covered pretty well.
Okay. I'm just trying to get your professional opinion. If you think there's other places that need to get that letter.
That's essentially the chain of command,
Okay,
the way I see it anyway, from where I sit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have one question. On the grade crossings, we have gates, but the gates seem to be half gates.
Yep.
Are they being extended to full across?
No. I have been asked that by another town, and I have researched that, and the gates are installed and work as intended. The gate lengths are.
The bells that are going off, so there's audible in the gates. And again, I always hope that those individuals that make that gate on that some mistake and they realize that they're going around. I mean, obviously, if you have a bell going off and you have a gate down, people should be abide by the law.
It's just a different, very different, people aren't used to seeing a train late in the afternoon. Trash trains don't go down there, I don't believe, late in the afternoon. So when you're changing the dynamics, you're putting People just aren't prepared for that. They might think it's a problem or a malfunction. Try to go around, and next thing you know, we have a disaster. And I don't,
We communicate with the newspapers to get the flyer put in the newspaper, or again, put in the newspaper, putting the flyer out in grocery stores, or, you know, just to get the news out that, you know, the attention is not safe to be on the right of way. We say that on our flyers, we don't go around the gate gossip.
right.
But people do. I've seen it recently. A full gate would stop that. I mean, a flyer is great, and like I said, I do appreciate all you're doing, but a full gate would stop it.
A full gate actually presents problems. It traps cars in the crossing.
They come down if there's a car in the
There's a
crossing.
reason why there are not full gates where the gate goes across 2 lanes.
All right.
Because if the car gets caught from the gate behind it and stops in the gate in front of it, it's now trapped on the crossing. So the
Right,
gates
and that-
don't go all the way across the crossing.
That's why they install median barriers now.
Well, you just, first of all, you know, you made a point that we're doing nothing different than we didn't do in 1980. And the only difference between now and 1980 is take the maps, the zoning maps of those areas, and you lay them one on top of the other. There's a whole lot of new blocks on there, a whole lot of new houses along that rail line. That street has blossomed over the years. The rail line being right behind it. You know, now you're changing the dynamic. And again, we're finding out about this. We found out about this through the newspaper. And that's,
They called us and asked us what we thought of it, and we said, what are you talking about?
huh? I mean, I give the hung answer a lot, and I don't like it, but this was bad because it's, all of a sudden, this is being sprung upon us. And you have your design work all done. What, that got done in 10 minutes?
Oh, no. We did about 6 months of design work in 4 weeks. We did about a year's worth of construction in 4 months.
And we found out about it 2 months ago, if that? So, okay, but I'm sure we'll address that in our letter. Mr. Knowlton?
Yes, just a question. This safety assessment that was done, was that report shared with the chiefs?
It's being drafted right now, and it has not been approved. Well, actually, there's one additional piece that happened in this week. We have individuals from our team, from the safety, who are going to, we weren't able to do this at this point because we didn't have any trains on the track. So we're going to test runs this whole week. We're going to be jumping on as a test run. The things we look at, we see those are signs of pedestrian, trespassers, looking for fishing areas, that type of thing. So that's happening, and I think it will be published tomorrow.
So upon its completion, though, you'll be sharing that with the chiefs and with this board?
I don't know for sure. That's, we're talking with the CSO about that. But I do know that we will share the information on trespassers. That we chief, like we have that. We've been working with them continuously, having emails from them, like this area,
Excuse me, Ms. Kaufman, can you speak into the mic so everybody can hear you at home? Thank you.
Sure. I have allergies, so my throat is dry. So anyway, we've been working closely with the chief of police. So anything that we learn that is going to provide additional safety and have the police, the police departments of the various townships here get out the message or target their patrolling of those areas is what we want to do. Absolutely.
Charlie, any other thing? We have just a minute, I'll check my board first.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Lastly, as it relates to what's changed, since the late 80s, I would certainly encourage in this letter that we send to make reference to our 2000-2010 census results. I think that'll answer that question. We've had a significant spike in population since the last time you turned this thing on. Matter of fact, we had one of the biggest spikes between 2000 and 2010 of any town in Plymouth County. So.
Folks from the audience?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Jamarian, since we're here, we might as well announce to the people that the Cape Flyer website actually does have the information. For Friday night, it heads south out of Middleborough Station at 6:10, and on Saturday and Sundays in the morning at 8:48, it'll leave Middleborough Station heading south. So that probably puts it around 6:20 and 9 o'clock down there in South Middleborough, rocking through there at 55 miles an hour. Heading north, it's going to be arriving at 10 o'clock on Friday night in Middleborough Station, which means like a 9:45 going through South Middleborough. And then Saturday and Sunday, it'll be arriving at Middleborough Station at 8 o'clock at night. So those are the trains, so that if anyone at home is worried down there in South Middleborough, that's when you're going to hear this thing, and the ding, 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 and the big whoosh as it goes by. My comment is 4 months worth of, a year's worth of construction in 4 months. I'm astonished. I mean, I knew when Jack Kennedy had this and was going to do this back in 2010, and got all shot down because there was no way this was ever going to work.
Jack Kennedy?
John Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, believe it or not that one, but a different one, was the guy who was going to do this back in 2010. And the concern is that we've rushed through this, and as we just heard from their engineer, it was rushed. It's been a rush job. We haven't finished the safety, yet all of a sudden, without finishing the safety, we're going to have a train rolling on Friday, and we haven't finished safety. So my concern is we should address that. But my question is has that safety...
Hold on, wait a minute.
Oh.
Sure you go, one at a time.
I just want to make sure we're clear. My answer relative to 4 months of, a year's worth of construction in 4 months was to make the point that we've all been rushed for this project. We have not skimped a bit. We've put 42,000 new ties in, we've put 11 new grade crossings in, we've cut brush, we've cut road crossings. I've worked with the town of Middleborough to cut all the trees out of the crossings for visibility. So we have been rushed, but we have not skimped on anything. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Very good.
The study on safety, we looked at grade crossings. We're going to look at everything else now?
Well, the grade crossings is
Hands on the mic, please.
your grade crossings is where, we're legally, we're looking at what's required for grade crossing, because there's an elevated level of risk there, okay? We couldn't do that until the work was completed there. They were pretty close to being done with all of that. We are making note of things that we found that may already be corrected. And so it'll be a corrective action report. They'll have to close these items out before it is allowed to operate. That's just the way it is. That's the FRA makes us go by these way. This is the way they want. And they were, like I said, in a meeting with us last week. They saw that we did what we did. They were pleased with what we did. They understand that there's additional things that need to be closed. Some of the items are recommendations, strong recommendations that we want to do to go a little above and beyond. That's not, but those type of things are not going to stop the train from operating on Friday. Okay, but anything that we come up with in this report at that time has to be closed if we find it to be not in compliance with the regulations. And then to address the rest of the train, the purpose for that is not, it's for the safety of the train, but we get checks and balances like you wouldn't imagine, all the stuff that they have to do to get the train operable. These are trains that are already, like you said, they're already running. So they're already meeting the requirements for that type of train. And so our assessment, our safety assessment is just because we're concerned, just like you are, about pedestrians that shouldn't be on the right-of-way. It's an issue. It's an issue everywhere. It's not just here. It's an issue everywhere. And so we want to do our best, that everything we can do to try to minimize the hazards. And by doing the community outreach program that we're doing, by going on this train and looking for trespassers and visible signs of where trespassers may be, and working with the chief of police at each of the locations, that's how we're working at trying to minimize any risk that's out there.
Will the signs be lighted at the railroad? The ones that, will there be a light on the sign so people can read the signs? If there is an incident, they have to call somebody at the railroad crossings.
Okay. I can tell you for absolute sure, any of the operators of the train go through an incredible rigorous amount. They have to be certified and qualified to be an operator. This sign is for someone else that could come along and is
Correct. If somebody had an accident on the tracks, they
But
would
I
call.
can tell you, if our train operators, and it's not just the operator of the train, but anyone else who's on the train particular, they all understand and have to know and review and know their call-out numbers and
Right.
everything else.
So if a person, everyone on the train, so when they see that car on that train, they're gonna be able to stop that train before it gets there? My question was, is it gonna be lighted? Because we were told that's gonna be 3/4 of a mile to stop this train. If at 55 miles an hour, it's gonna be 3/4 of a mile to stop this train at a crossing. Therefore, if somebody gets stuck in a crossing, they have to call this number. My question was, will this sign be lighted in such a way that somebody who has an accident, who's on the tracks, there's no light on there, it's now 10 o'clock at night, and I gotta call the number, yet I can't even see the number because I'm lighting it with my cell phone trying to make a call. Is there lighting in these crossings where we'll be able to read those?
My understanding is the requirements are that the placard be on the signal case. I don't know of any requirement that it needs to be lighted.
Can you bring this back to whoever it needs to be brought back to? When they started the train in Middleborough, I grew up in West Bridgewater. I remember the whole hubbub about the at-grade crossings in West Bridgewater. We had several of them. What we ended up doing is the train ended up going through at a slow pace at the beginning, just for the sake of making sure there wasn't an accident, whether it was on East Street or Belmont Street. That was one of the things that they did. They slowed down the train at first to make sure actually they had an engineer sitting on the front of the train, or a conductor on the front. Could that be something that is done here, at least at the beginning, to make sure we don't have issues? Thank you.
I actually was there in Old Colony when this was going on, and those slow-speed trains that he's talking about are going on as we speak. Those are the qualification trains for qualifying the engineers on the line, and they are traveling at slow speeds.
Diane Bassett. I know the Middle Street crossing, but I'm also from Hingham, and I know the Hershey Street crossing. Hershey Street in Hingham has a full gates. There's no daycare anywhere near that area in Hingham on Hershey Street. We have a daycare here, adjacent to the tracks. We need a wall.
Well, the gate's not going to keep the children off of, you would need a fence the whole way, and you would open the fence when you probably go through and stuff, so.
Have you seen the fence that has it on Hershey Street?
I don't know.
Take a ride up there. We want the same on Miller Street. I think the reason why we were this project, we were notified of this project is probably because of demands that we would want, that you, yeah. Train would be running Friday night if we were to meet our demands. We would want a full fence and a full gate. Thank you.
To answer your question, that's the church at Rock Village, correct?
Yes.
Evening, Dave Kavanaugh, 83 Miller Street. I'm probably closer to the trains than anyone else in this room. I own from the Miller Street crossing back several hundred feet right along the tracks, and my house is only a few hundred feet at the closest point from the track itself. I've got several concerns here. First was, as the board has already mentioned, the total disruption to the abutters with no prior notice whatsoever. They started early in the morning. My wife happens to work a night shift, which was kind of a rude awakening, literally, for a few days. They've had their machines running up and down the track creating dust. There's been no dust control at all. They have totally raped the vegetation along the right-of-way. In my case, along myself and my next-door neighbor, their contractor, which had the sign Cook's Wood Recycling on the side of their front-end loader, totally cut down the natural buffer that was there between the houses and the tracks. They left piles of slash, and Cook's yellow front-end loader squashed a drainage ditch that was dug by the railroad about 10 or so years ago. No restoration of any kind. There are, as was mentioned, there are piles of used ties. They're right behind my house. There have been some flatbed trucks that I'm assuming they're taking out the ties, but it looks more like they've rearranged them rather than removed them. But it was literally a 10-foot high pile of used railroad ties there. But they are making the effort. They seem to be making the effort to clean it up. There's a lot of slash that needs to be cleaned up, and that drainage ditch needs to be restored. Just to reiterate what's said, ATVs and dirt bikes continually use that track. Some days it's a steady parade. They come down the track, turn, run right up the middle of Miller Street, and find some spot further up the street where they get back on the tracks and just do it again. I know the railroad's response is going to say call the police, but by the time the police are able to get there, the dirt bikes are gone. They did a good job at the Miller Street crossing. I'll give credit where credit is due. They restored that crossing very well. They used to have a gate across. There's a little access road that goes up the track next to the railroad track itself. There was a gate that was across that track to try and keep unauthorized people out, but my understanding is they have to stay 3 or 4 feet away from the edge of the train itself, so people go right around it. If they can address that some way, that would be good. And maybe I'm a minority of one, but there could be some limited fencing that runs along the track, especially behind the Rock Village Church and that daycare center. I would agree with that. But right now, for 3 extra runs a week, if people aren't being hit by trains in the South Middleborough and Rock Village area now, I don't see 3 extra trains a week being that much of a big problem. A fence would disrupt the existing animal trails. There's animal trails all up and down that line going across the right-of-way. I'd rather see them restore the vegetative screen that they took down.
The railroad, Mr. Kavanaugh put his complaint in writing to the railroad. I have seen the complaint. The slash, I brought the tree cutter out there. The slash has been removed. Yeah. If there's piles of brush there, they should have been gone. If they're not, I'll come back.
There's not piles of brush. There's individual bits and stumps and uprooted trees now. There's not piles anymore.
Okay, we can look at that. The used ties will be removed. The road crossings are being used as staging areas for the ties because obviously tractor trailers can't get down the right of way. Those will be gone. The pile of dirt will be gone. Let me explain about the brush cutting. There are 2 sets of brush cutting that are required for safety reasons. First is what they call the railroad quadrants, which is one that goes right behind his house. Those are required so that when the school buses stop at the stop bars, they can see up the right-of-way like they're supposed to see. The second set of brush cutting is the road quadrants, which is so that anybody that's approaching the crossing can see the flashing lights and gates without any kind of branch being in their way. So unfortunately, living at the crossing, he's gotten to see both of those. In addition to that, the FRA does not allow trees to touch the side of trains. So in addition to that, there was a 10-foot off centerline clearing that was done on the entire north side from Buzzards Bay all the way to Middleborough to open that car up because the canopy had closed in, and it's an FRA violation to have those trees. So there's actually 3 sets of cutting up on the north side. I do know about his drainage ditch. I have alerted the contractor, and the railroad has gone up and looked at it, and as soon as the ties are out of the way, my understanding is the ditch is right underneath where they're loading the ties. So as soon as those are out of the way, we'll be back up there to take a look at it.
May I ask one question? You've used a term, and my esteemed colleague normally pounces on people for using abbreviations. FRA is?
The Federal Railroad Administration.
Okay, thank you.
The Federal Railroad Administration is the same as the Federal Highway Administration. It's the federal regulatory oversight for all railroads, passenger and freight.
Okay, sir?
And if I can address
Ma'am.
one of the other concerns that he had, it's been a few times here this evening that it's been mentioned about the church and the daycare that's close to the tracks. I have people who are going to be down here doing more stuff tomorrow with flyers and outreach stuff. I can have them take a look at it and take some photographs. So, you know, there are locations where there's a Operation Lifesaver program where we actually physically have a person who manages the program for all of Massachusetts, comes in and has a pretty robust, very informational presentation that
I
they
was here
give
last
students.
week.
Yeah, so
Mr. O'Connell.
we target locations like that in particular. We're going to be doing it at as many schools as want to have it done, but we're targeting schools that are closer right now. So that's one that, again, hasn't been on our radar. We'll put it on the radar.
And that's right near when you look at that box for the Miller Street crossing, if you look over here, if you're looking at the box, you look over here, that's the church. And there's a fence that comes out so far and stops.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at it, and if we have some additional recommendations, we'll do that.
Good.
So before I leave this evening, if anyone knows what the address of that is or the name of the school, and give that to me, I can make sure that we look at that tomorrow.
Okay, I'm sure we have somebody out here who can get the address of that real quick.
Hi, Shirley Swindle, 82 Miller Street. I feel like the board that thank you for coming, but in my opinion, it's too little, too late. If I had to grade you on community outreach and it's, you know, just straight out there constructive criticism, I have to give you an F. Because we live down there, and I work from home, I walk a dog, I know every neighbor that's home at any given time. I've talked to several of them. You have made no effort to speak to any of us. And things that you are discovering as items to correct that are concerning, we live there. When you move on to your next project, we will still live there. I am a 5-generation townie in my house. So I have been there, I have seen it all for 40 years. And if you really cared about community outreach, you would have reached out to us more than a flyer. You could have knocked on doors, you could have put something out more than you have, you could have not done a surprise attack in the newspaper on these guys. Thank you.
Hey there, Glenn Montepert, Marriott Road. I think the public safety report should be shared with the town. I think it's crucial. I don't think it should be held tight to the transportation company only. Thank you.
Thank you.
More comment?
I grew up half a mile from the Miller Street crossing, and so I know that kids are always on the tracks. My mother would probably have a heart attack, but I was on the tracks as a child too. Are there lighted or not lighted, but visual and audio warnings further away from the actual crossing into the woods on each side? And if not, is that a possibility? Do they make those?
Again, when we did our assessment, and we are looking at the regulation and what's required, and that's what we're doing. That's what we've done. Again, if there's certain things that make it a higher risk at a certain area, we may make recommendations on certain locations, but
But is that a possibility to put those sorts of?
I can't answer that question. I'm really sorry. I can't answer that. I don't have the authority to answer that question. So.
But I guess what I'm asking is do they manufacture those types of warnings placed not only on the actual road crossing, but further along?
Yes, they do.
But there's no plan to put those in right now?
You never heard of them, I'm sorry.
This is, excuse me, just so I understand, you're talking about on the road itself?
Not on the road, further into the woods where the kids are.
In the woods?
Oh, no, I misunderstood your question. Yeah, no, they're not, I know they're going to trespass, I know that. They're not supposed to be trespassing. It's unsafe, it is extremely unsafe to have people, and children in particular, trespassing on tracks. There's people who are wearing headsets or whatever else. And the people who are on ATVs, they're loud, they may not hear the train coming. It is unsafe. And we tell people, people should know that it's unsafe.
But you're on notice as of tonight that there are kids on the tracks. And so what is being done to mitigate
What is
any?
being done to address that? They're out there with the T police and collaborating with all your chief of police. They're going to get out there and issue some citations to get the notice out.
So there's nothing else being done than what was already there, is what you're saying?
No, there's many things being done. We're working very closely with the chiefs of police from all the various towns that's being impacted.
In terms of warnings or things that you have actively put on the tracks?
Okay, we're not allowed to put certain things in certain areas. That's just, how it is.
But my question, I just want to know if there were other things done, other than what was already there.
As far as signage and stuff?
Signage, further in?
If you go to all the crossings, you'll see signage that will say no trespassing, no ATVs, no, all of this stuff. It's all there. It's just being ignored.
So, let me just answer, because Mr. Kavanaugh said, well, there are right-of-way gates there, and those gates will be restored. It won't be done by this Friday, but I'm working on that now. So those gates will be put back.
On the Miller Street
There's
area?
two Miller Street, one on each side of the crossing.
Okay. But that's really only going to, that's really,
Right, it's the right-of-way gate, and he's correct. You can only put the post of that gate so close to the track before you then start to cause hazard to the train. So, but at least it will prevent larger vehicles from trespassing down the road.
Like police cruisers. It'll stop the police cruisers and the ATVs and motorcycles, go right around it.
Okay.
The other question I had is not necessarily related to safety, but I go to the church that's right next to the crossing on Miller Street, and when the trains go through at 30 miles an hour, the building shakes. I'm wondering what the double that speed is going to do to the building, and if that is going to have any long-term, I'm not a builder or anything, but is that going to do anything to the foundations of any buildings or houses in the immediate area? It will not.
Commuter trains are traditionally not heavy, like freight trains. The freight train cars typically are 100 tons plus. Commuter rail coaches weigh in somewhere, I think, around the neighborhood of 50 or 60 tons. So the relative to ground vibration, actually, the best attenuation you can have for ground vibration is a wood tie in rock ballast.
you're putting wood ties in, right?
Wood ties in
You're
rock
not
ballast.
putting cement ties that'll have to be replaced in 7 years? No. Okay, good.
I'm sorry, just one more comment. I had the option not to move back to the family home. I don't mind the trains. I enjoy it. It was great having a 10-year-old boy thinking Thomas was going through in the night. I mean, it's great. It's fun to go out and count the cars. So I'm not opposed to the trains. I'm opposed to the way that this whole thing is done.
Thank you.
I've seen a couple of those test trains go by already, and there's no real difference as far as the noise factor or anything of that sort between the few freights that go through there and the couple of test trains that I've seen go through, other than that the test trains are probably 3 times as long, 6, 8 cars, as opposed to the trash train shuttles, which might be 2 of those bulk hauler type cars with 1 engine.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you. Any board members have any other questions, comments?
Just, the only
Mr. Paul?
comment I would say is it's just very unwise when it comes to a train service to start it prior to implementing all your safety measures. You really think about it, if something tragic is going to happen, it's going to happen up front before the public has a chance to become accustomed to this new thing. I just don't, I understand, the time is of the essence here, but
It's just timing on everything. Again, we can't do the assessment until the majority of the work is complete, because we're going to be finding 700 findings that they're already planning on correcting. So it's typical that you will do that assessment at the very end of your project.
the train's already, the train's already barreling through town.
Yeah.
If you're going to pick something not to go barreling through a town before all the safety measures in place, probably be a train.
Well, the safety measures will be in place. The safety measures will be in place. Anything that we find that needs to be in place in order for that operation to run, it will be in place. They have to be. The FRA requires it to be.
When's the service start?
Friday.
And everything will be in place?
They've been working on putting all this stuff in
Well,
place.
If it's not, no, the service will start.
Right.
If all of the safety issues are not addressed, the service will start. But they will not run 50.
They'll not what?
They will not run 50. They have to meet all of the safety requirements. There's checklists from several different places that all, especially the upper end, that all have to be met.
Well,
As long as all of the checklists have been met, which address all of the safety concerns, then the train will be run at track speed.
I get a feeling like the majority of that safety stuff was geared towards making sure that the train could safely go barreling through our town at 55. I'm really trying to, I think the people are concerned about.
A good example of that is one of the individuals brought up a concern about the brush. That is particularly of interest for anyone who's stopping at a crosswalk and being able to have visual sight down the line. That's just one example. The street paintings that's happening at every single crossing. That's usually a responsibility of the towns to upkeep those areas. They've gone ahead and they've done those upgrades for you as part of this new project. We have to verify that the audible noises when you're trying to stop crosswalk, that the arms are coming down, that they work. There's a whole host of things that are totally designed for keeping the individuals who are in their vehicles, who should be stopping at the cross stops to keep them safe, to give them as much audible and visual stimulation to say, hey, there's a danger here.
We'll see. Okay.
I just want to say thank you for coming down and talking to us. I do appreciate everything that you've done. I would say that when you leave here tonight, that you keep in mind that some of the frustration that you've heard tonight is because you're the first two people who have come down here and spoken to us about this project and the train's going through on Friday. So it's a bit of a sneak attack. And there is that sense of frustration, and I'll tell you right now, it's based out of fear. We're scared we may lose somebody to a train accident because we haven't had a chance to get used to this. That's where this is coming from. It's certainly not against you guys, like I said. We appreciate you coming down here. I certainly understand it can get tough sitting there answering questions. But yeah, if we could, I'm telling you, if you slow that train down from 30 from the Lakeville station till after Spruce Street, a lot of this goes away. And I would appreciate it if you kept that in mind as we move forward. Thank you.
I have just one thing, and this is brought up by one of the folks out in the audience. That sign, those signs, the one on Miller Street, I don't know what that is, control box, I'll call it.
Signal case, yes.
Okay. And the one down on Spruce Street.
Yep.
Those are dark areas. We're now having a train come through at night. If a car breaks down on that crossing, it's going to be hard for somebody to see that.
I'm almost positive that lettering on those signs is reflective, but I will check on that.
But if not, can you arrange to get, if you could put into your FRA safety whiz-bang manual there, to get a lighting that up so that somebody will be able to at least see that. Pretty scary when you're stuck on a set of tracks and it says call somebody, but you can't.
Just out of curiosity, are there streetlights in that area? Because if there are streetlights, if they're doing that, they have to be done. But again, just going to check with
Actually, I'm negligent in my duties. I don't know where the street light is, if there is one down there. I can't speak to that. We have a commissioner from the Middleborough Gas and Electric. Have you mapped out all the street lights in your mind yet? Do you know if there's one down in that area?
I do not know, but I'll be happy to look.
Okay.
I believe there is one pretty close, but as Dave just said to me, if it's a reflective sign, it's going to have some kind of light to reflect. Yeah, that's for you to read it.
Well, that would be obvious.
Yeah. Clearly.
So, I thank you folks very much. The Vice Chairman spoke very eloquently in the fact that, I'm sorry you took all this abuse tonight, but you were the only people that have showed up, that had the nerve to show up down here and talk to us. It's pretty distressing that the state government decided to go ahead and run something through and then they send you down to take the beating. So, we don't like that. If you can work on all of those issues that the folks have mentioned, this would help.
So
okay?
somebody has the address or the name of the school?
The name of the Rock Church?
Rock Village Church.
Rock Village Church.
Rock Village Church.
Google it. It's right near the Miller Street Railroad crossing, actually. The white building, whole thing on the top like that, you know. No. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is to hear from Richard Barlow, resident at 19 Plymouth Street, concerning a hearing we had on 4/8.
This is about, that meeting originally was about a Title V, is that correct? That meeting on April the 8th was about a Title V? Joint
Yes,
line?
Title V, yes.
Okay. Why was she allowed to speak about the tenants that lived there at that address and bring them down when it was a Title V? Why was that allowed?
Because it was, well, I don't recall her bringing
You
down
wasn't
the
there,
tent.
Mr. Rulo was there.
Right, I know, but I was here.
Oh, you
I
was
moved.
here? Oh, okay.
I was down in that neighborhood. I moved up here. This young lady wasn't here, and the gentleman down the end was not here for that hearing. They were not here for that. So the only ones that were here were Mr. Frawley, myself,
Thanks.
Mr.
He was
Frawley.
here, he was there.
Right, I was sitting down there. You don't remember seeing me?
No. Okay.
First time I've ever been considered invisible. So.
Maybe because I had Rulo in my head. He was
Right.
my target.
We all do. We all do. It's called flashbacks. Look, I don't recall disparaging comments. What we were talking about was a Title V situation.
But she was allowed to speak about the tenants and about the rent and the eviction notices.
Absolutely. You want to speak? You'll have to come up with the mic.
We're the tenants that live there, her and I.
Okay, but if you are going to speak, what I'm saying is if you are going to speak.
No,
I
I will speak.
Go ahead.
Okay. Before that, all right, I have proof here. You see the date on the symbol?
March 29th.
She already
You'll have to speak into the microphone, please. We've got to have this recorded.
She already had received this from the courthouse, stating that any allegations against us were not true, and they were dropped. They were dismissed in our favor. But she came up here on the 8th of April, knowing about this. She already had this, and lied about it. Just the opposite of what was out here, saying we owed her rent and we were being evicted. But this, if you read this very carefully, it says we remain tenancy. We owe her nothing. We never did owe her anything.
But the hearing was about a Title V.
Yeah, that's what the meeting was about.
Yeah.
So did she show you any documentation?
What does that have to
about
do with the
anything
Title
about
V?
us?
What is
I
it?
think, Mr. Chair, if I may, if I remember correctly, the crux of the argument was that a tenant who's involved in an eviction cannot file a complaint with the Board of Health.
Yeah, but this is about.
That's it. I'm
Title
not
V. But she
weighing
did.
in on the merits of the case
But
at
she
all.
brought that
What
up.
I'm saying is whether or not the eviction process is separate.
Right, but she brought it up at this hearing.
Because there is an eviction process proceeding.
no eviction
Can you please listen to me, sir?
Right.
This is the way this isn't anything personal. It's not about you. It's not about her. It's about the rules that we have to abide by. If there is an eviction process going on.
There isn't
All right,
an eviction
all right,
notice
wait. There was.
Excuse me.
There was at the time of the complaint.
No.
If there's an eviction process going on, and the
there
people who are, the complaints being filed against, or filed by, against the landlord, bring it up, it's dismissed. If there's an eviction process going on, and you file a complaint against the landlord,
No.
we can't decide on it. We're not supposed to decide on it. It's supposed to be dismissed.
At this hearing, there was no,
Evidence.
no proof of us being, moved out of the house. Because that was already dismissed by the court before she came to the hearing, but yet brought that up. Did she show you any documentation on the fact that we were being evicted?
No, I don't
No.
remember. I don't have the
Now, the
minutes or
second
anything in
question
front
is,
of me.
did you ask her for any documentation? No.
We were deciding on a...
No, no.
Title
no.
V.
But she was allowed to make all these statements at this hearing about us.
And you were allowed to be here, sir.
That's right, but I also got a phone call from the Board of Health stating that I didn't have to be here. So it looked like...
You don't have to be here tonight either, but you chose
I
to
know,
come
but
down here.
I just wanted to show you that this meeting that night might have been rehearsed before you guys got here. Because Mr. Rulo is like coaching her that night, making statements.
Can I make a statement?
You make a statement? Yes.
Excuse me, sir?
Mr. Rulo is asking her
Sir,
questions.
I'm not going to listen to anything if you're going to disparage Mr. Rulo and his character. The fact that you're standing there and saying he's part of a conspiracy against you
I'm not
is
saying
ridiculous.
But listen to
He
what
wasn't coaching anybody.
All right, so why is he asking her who reported this to the Board of Health?
Because that's a relevant question.
Why? It was about
Because
Title
who would
V.
report a Title V?
It was about Title V, not about the tenants.
Yeah, but another thing, we did not report that to the Board of Health.
Somebody did.
Well, there was the complaint, what we were dealing with was a Title V issue, and we dealt with it.
Okay,
Period.
You want to see the paperwork?
So what else do you have relative to the Title V issue?
Quiet.
Excuse me?
No.
Exactly.
No, it's not them.
Excuse me?
This is a document from the Board of Health on May 28th, which was long before January 22nd. We lived there for 2.5 years with water leaking through the ceiling in the kitchen, in the cabinets.
Water leaking.
Excuse me, we're talking about the Title V issue. That's what we were talking
But
about.
it wasn't, I didn't go to the Board of Health about Title V.
So then-
I went there about these situations.
What do you have relative to the Title V issue? Because that's what we dealt with that night, was the Title V
The
issue.
building inspector who was not present at this meeting.
What does that have to do with the Title V issue, though? The
Because-
Title V is a septic system.
Right, but that's what the building
That's what we were
inspector brought
discussing.
up. I didn't bring that, I didn't want anything to do with the Title V. I didn't
Well,
want
that's what
nothing
we
to
were
do with
discussing.
Excuse me, let me finish. I didn't want nothing to do with the chip paint that Mr. Rulo kept talking about. 80% of the
Now,
town has
there's
chip.
only 79%
Quiet.
of
Okay.
people
Let me
having
finish
chip
it.
paint in
No.
their houses.
I was on the phone with the Board of Health. The Board of Health tells me to call the building inspector.
Okay.
Now, why is the Board of Health telling me to call the building inspector?
We're the Board of Health.
When the building inspector is 50 feet away from the Board of Health.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
thank you very much.
No,
So
I'm
what
not done yet.
what is it that you wish to end up with here?
What do I want?
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. Wait,
Oh, yes, you are. What is it you want?
what does I want?
Oh, yeah, you come before us for something. What is it you're looking for?
I want an apology.
You do?
Right, because we have been accused of something we didn't do.
We didn't accuse you of anything.
Yes, you did. Because you
We
were
did
all
not
here to
accuse you
make
of anything.
statements about us on TV, in
We-
front of this whole town.
We didn't make any accusations
But you
against
allowed
you.
to talk about something else that had
We didn't
nothing
make
to
any
do with Title
accusations
V.
against you.
What?
We did not make any accusations against you.
No,
None of
you
us did.
She did.
She did.
But you allowed it
So
to
why
go
am I
on.
going to apologize for her?
She did.
Why? Because you didn't sell
And
it.
her name was Joyce Ryan, and yes, I'm a relative of hers.
Okay.
Now, my
Thank you.
concern, all right, I want to tell you, my concern about the Board of Health about these is because she has stage 3 melanoma. She has
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry for
lymphoma,
that.
which is treatable but not curable.
Exactly.
She
And I also
also,
have a hearing problem.
she went
She
deaf,
might
she
be
went
a
deaf. She's had
She
2
might
operations,
process
she has 1 more to go.
Yep.
Now, she says she has a French drain in the house, which is on the inside of the house. French drain belongs on the outside of the house, so it stops the water from coming in. But the building inspector pointed out that the water is leaking into the French drain, which they have inside of the house, which causes a lot of bacteria.
Excuse me, does that
Another
have
issue-
something to do with the Title V?
That's what I mean, but I want to explain to you what's wrong with that house. There's a
Okay.
crack.
No, sir. I don't care about the cracks in the
But
house.
I
I don't care about the chip
But the
paint.
Board of Health did
I
nothing.
cared
Then
about
you
the Title
allowed her
V.
to come on and
I cared about the
stood up
Title V.
here
That's
and
what we
talk
spoke
about
to.
the tenants.
I will
Okay,
turn this
thank
over.
you.
You are all
Oh,
fucking
okay.
bunch of
Hey,
fucking
hey,
liars.
Shut up.
Thank you. Thank you. You may need, hey, we have kids in here. Excuse me, you may now leave. This hearing's over. You may now leave. Leave, please, right now.
You are.
Okay.
You are.
Go out. Go out.
Effing lying.
You've been asked to leave the board. You need to leave now.
You know what exactly what.
Ma'am, I want to ask you one more time, leave now. Leave now. Leave now.
Oh, he's not lying.
Well, that's a good first. Okay.
Town manager's report. Mr. Chairman.
Town manager.
Just two items tonight. We have a,
Take him down, Mad Dog. Sir.
we have a communication from the fire chief regarding a startup certification for our local emergency planning committee, something that the chief has worked hard to achieve, and we will be continuing to get full certification, which will then make us eligible for certain grants through FEMA. So that was good work on the part of our fire chief and the committee. And then another item is Maya releasing some additional funds, participation credits in the amount of about $3,700, which will go toward this year's, it'll go toward this year's budget. So that's all I have.
So that'll be $3,700?
$3,700. Yeah.
That's good. Relative to the fire chief, we'll get that in a minute. Next item is correspondence. If I may jump ahead of all of you for just a moment, the fire chief was having a FEMA reimbursement meeting today.
Had it today.
All about
Selectman Dalpy was there, along with several of the department heads, and three FEMA people were there. And we talked about the application, the pending application for the blizzard. Unfortunately, the snow response is still not part of the reimbursement, although Plymouth County is appealing. So we're primarily talking about protective measures and the sheltering costs, and then the G&E costs relating to the power outages. So potentially that's in the $700,000 range, most of it being G&E reimbursement. So we're starting to acquire the documentation and getting ready to submit it.
where our fire chief is, and I'm going to let you speak, I know you want to speak.
Oh, no.
Where our fire chief is doing all the work, the bulwark of getting these grants.
Reimbursements, yeah.
Is there a possibility of getting an administrative fee off of each of the grant, or the pieces that come in? I mean, I know.
Yeah, I mean, we file for.
Can't give it to him as a.
Yeah, no, we file, yeah. We will collect on the amount of time that, he and the others spend on putting this together. Yeah, that is a reimbursable expense. Direct administrative costs are reimbursable.
Because, I mean, he has put in, I know the folks out there don't understand how much time the fire chief has put into these grants.
Yeah.
He has done a tremendous job in recouping a lot of money to the town, a lot of money that was never looked at before.
Correct.
So.
Oh, yes, he's done a great job.
And I'd like to see that he gets, his department at least gets reimbursed somehow for the time that he's tied up doing this stuff. Okay, now I'll turn this over to my board members. Mr. Quell, for correspondence?
88 River Street continues to be an issue, but, I know it's being addressed by the conservation. There was a letter about trash accumulation. I brought that up a couple times, that it was just brought to my attention by residents who live on the roads leading up to our landfill. They also have questioned whether or not, loads are being tarped properly, and whether it's waste management or just private citizens. It's tough to know, but, any kind of efforts on behalf of that contract to try to pick up things on the side of the road, and I know there is something in there about that, was it 1,000 feet or something from the entrance, something that's in the contract. As long as we adhere to that, at least we're abiding by the contract. But that isn't unheard of as far as citizens in this town who do live around our landfill. So just bringing attention to that letter. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
I did have a quick thing on the FEMA, if I can go back to
Yes,
that.
you absolutely
One thing that was brought up was the DPW had submitted around $130,000, I think it was, for snow removal, which was a moot point. However, it was pointed out that part of that may be for debris removal, which can come under this FEMA reimbursement. I believe we're in the process of trying to sort out how much for each amount. Is that?
Yeah. I actually sent Andy Bagas an email today. He told me last Thursday that he was planning to come in this week, and that's one of the things we'll talk about, is trying to allocate some of those reimbursements just to debris removal, which we did quite a bit of,
Right.
even as we were removing snow. So
Right.
we'll have to figure out a way of separating that.
Right.
Hopefully, ultimately, maybe we'll get money for the snow, but if not, we want to get at least a reimbursement on the debris.
Mm-hmm.
And they did come out. We did go up to the landfill and to another place that's owned by the park department where we keep stumps. So they did see physical evidence of the things we've already removed. It's very clear. They're very, new dead, trees and mulch piles. So they measured those and, we'll try and get as much credit for those as we can.
Right, so we may get some reimbursement on that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is, it appeared to me, is the G&E filing separately for FEMA reimbursement from the town?
They have been talking with FEMA about that, and they have put in that request, and they put the request in on a timely basis, and they're waiting to hear to see whether or not they would file their own separate request, because I guess because of the coverage of two different towns, or something along those lines. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's what I picked up as well,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was odd that they would be filing separately from the town.
Yeah, they may.
Okay.
Might be filing for Lakeville.
Well,
Lakeville
for
piece.
Lakeville, the piece of Lakeville, yeah, but they are still Middleborough Gas and Electric.
It's another area.
That's all. Yeah,
Service
that's
area.
all I have to say.
Okay. Mr. Knowlton?
A couple of things. Number one, the municipal licensing group meeting. Is that an opportunity to follow up on the changes to our liquor license policy that I know the former board was keen on making some changes?
I'm sorry. Try that again?
Okay.
Use little words.
All right. I know that the former board was interested in making some changes to some dates on liquor licensing here in town. And this looks like the kind of policy meeting where things are starting.
Yeah, no, I think we've got that pretty well in hand. We've already told the relevant parties that, we want information back earlier so that we are able to act on it in a timely way, and we're not pressed to do things just before the end of the calendar year. So, but I think, Jackie will be attending that. I think it's a good opportunity to learn what other people do and pick up tips on how other people do things and maybe, improve what we do.
Number 12, the library is posting for a part-time librarian. And I can scroll through it here. It's a part-time library technician. It's a 12-hour position. The qualifications are bachelor's degree, skill in Windows and Microsoft Office, with emphasis on Excel. Experience with some kind of automated library system is preferred. Resumes are accepted until June 7th, and you can send them to the library director at the Middleborough Public Library, 102 North Main Street, Middleborough, Mass. And I also, as Selectman Quell was saying about the trash, I'm just wondering, is that something that maybe the mess movers can look into as well, some volunteer groups and cleaning up some of that?
They were out over the weekend, and in fact, we picked up some of the bags of trash that they had collected. if the letter as I read it, was really directed toward Mass Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and talks mostly about Rocky Gutter, although he does talk about CMAS, and I think we all know that along Route 28, there's a fair amount of debris that gets blown off of trucks, but I don't know. I drove up France Road, recently. I didn't see extraordinary amounts of litter. You see some, but it didn't look that significant to me myself. But again, I think his main point was about Rocky Gutter, and that's why I wrote it to the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife.
And the last thing was just to note that number 11, the Middleborough Retirees Insurance Group is meeting at the COA on the 21st, 1:30.
Mr. Fowler?
Thank you. Let me see. All right, speaking of trash, the first Nemasket River cleanup will be Saturday, June 15th. I will get back to you with the place that everybody's meeting, but it's through Badger Base Camp at www.badgerwildernessguides.org. It's also on Facebook if anyone's interested. There's the whole calendar's there, but like I said, the first one's on the 15th. I read Mr. Keating's letter as well, number 9, about the litter. Rocky Gutter, most mass wildlife areas experience dumping. It's a horrible, sad truth. They're remote. They're generally heavily wooded. It's easy to drive through there very slowly with a dump truck and lift it up in the back. I know some other towns. I think we've kicked the idea around. If we haven't, I think we should. But you can buy those the cameras that snap pictures for movement. If we have heavily regulated dump areas and we know where they are, we could put a couple of those up and possibly catch them. I know a couple people through Mass Wildlife. I hunt in Rocky Gutter, and I know a whole bunch of people who do. And generally, when Mass Wildlife is notified that there's dumping going on, they'll send the EPOs in there, and they'll actually. It's amazing, the idiots who dump trash in these areas will leave their envelopes in the trash, and you just go in and you pick up the envelope. It has their name and address on it. So there have been successful prosecutions of illegal dumping in these areas. But basically, if you see somebody doing it, take a picture of them, get their license plate, send it into the environmental police. If you notice fresh piles of trash and debris places, call our DPW, call our police, call the environmental police, call Mass Wildlife, and if you catch somebody doing it, I may say something myself. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but yeah, just report it as soon as possible, and yeah, hats off to Melissa Gumont. I think that's how you say it, and her group, the Middleborough Mess Movers, who meet, I believe, every first Saturday of the month and pick various areas around town and just literally walk down the street for a couple hours and pick up trash, and they don't do it for anything except because they live here and they love living here. It's one of the best things you could possibly do. And that's what they're doing on the river. Trash is a problem, and stop throwing your trash out the windows. And that's it for me.
And I just have one, number 5, the mosquito spraying here. I can't emphasize how important that is, having last year gone through a mosquito-borne virus. And I was one of the lucky ones. I had dengue fever, which we don't have up here, but we have much more serious diseases up here. So it's very important. What I would like to see is to make sure we have it very clear on the website when the sprayings are going to be. Last year, maybe we're misinformed. I kept checking the town website, but it wasn't as up to date as maybe it should have been. And I see there's a number here with a 24-hour number that you can call and a website to go to the state. If we could maybe put that on the website as well when this starts. It's going to be starting, as I saw, anytime after May 31st through September 3rd. That's what they're planning, so I would request that.
No, that spraying is not the aerial spraying.
Okay.
That's the more
Right,
localized.
right, but it's still, I mean, you need to be aware. You can't be in the middle of it while they're doing it, you know.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. As far as the chair goes, I really, as far as the litter problem, I mean, that's a big problem. I don't think Middleborough is the only town. But the mess movers can use extra hands. So, you know, if you can give up some time, get out there, walk around a little bit, pick up some trash. Nobody likes picking up other people's trash, but it makes the town look a little bit better, makes your area a little bit better.
Trash isn't going to pick itself up.
That's right. It will not go away by itself. Okay. Hearing any other issues, gentlemen? Ladies? All right. And in that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion to adjourn the Monday night fights. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much.
Is that a swearing by?